up to 2025. Thank you. The strategic plan of the Kenya Climate Innovation Center, strategic plan for 2020 up to 2025. A round of applause.
We'll be looking to put support in for 8 innovation hubs in different counties. We'll be looking to provide support to grants for 2,400 businesses, which I think, if I heard Edward correctly, should lead to 17,000 new jobs. But what's really important for me is not necessarily the grants, it's not necessarily the new innovation hubs, it's about the skills and learning that the people who will get the funding under this programme will benefit from KCIC's mentoring, the holding of their hands, the direct support on how to market their wonderful products, how to access the EU markets, how to ensure that the jobs are sustainable, long-lasting and durable. And what's equally important for me is that these are jobs that are going to primarily target women and young entrepreneurs. As we were talking with the First Lady as we came through, Edward explained to us that the average age of a farmer in Kenya was, I think it was 63. This should, I hope, contribute to giving this a fresh lease of life. But at the same time, we're also going to have another component that is hugely important. We will be underwriting with our grant funding some loans that will be available from the African Development Bank, with at least 23 billion Kenyan shillings loans available, soft loans, and we're hoping to target 3,000 companies, perhaps in many cases some of the very first clients of Edward and KCIC when they started their work with Meta, with DanAid a couple of years ago. Now, this is not something that comes out of the blue. I think it's very much part of some new creative and strategic thinking within the European Union that is challenging perhaps the concept of how we have viewed development in the past. I think the challenge for us is to view this as a partnership which is designed to support the rise up the value chain of Kenyan manufacturing and homegrown industry. That is what we want to do, and I think we can make a real difference, and I certainly believe we can make a real difference in the agricultural sector, where over many, many years we've been true partners, with over 80% of Kenya's exports in the agricultural sector today already finding their way onto the European Union market and being a brand that is linked with quality and success. But it's not just about the trade. As I said before, I see this as a hugely important contribution that can make a real difference in a number of the counties with these 17,000 jobs we hope to create.
We are here because climate change is real. If in fact it was otherwise, if climate change was a hoax, we wouldn't be here. Science, I think, is unanimous on this point. It is important, therefore, that we take climate change, in fact, now categorized as climate emergency and bordering on climate crisis. The expert report, the IPCC report on 1.5 and subsequent reports confirm that the window period is less than 10 years for us to undertake drastic, radical action or risk being extinct. Climate change has therefore been rightly appreciated as not just a threat to health, food security, but also indeed as a threat to national security, regional security, and international security.
We need to create green jobs and increase access to clean energy. I would like to acknowledge the KCIC's effort in providing incubation and financing services to Kenyan innovators and for coming up with green technology solutions and creating clean jobs. I applaud your work with small and medium enterprises and communities across the country, especially in providing access to clean and sustainable water supply and clean energy through the use of solar and biogas as alternatives to wood fuel. I commend your efforts to finding solutions that will help Kenya become a food-secure and energy-efficient nation. The strategic plan we're launching today comes at a critical time when we need to work together, build stronger partnerships with the private sector and communities, and inspire action for climate change mitigation and adaptation to solutions in Kenya. Technological innovations are indeed central to climate change resilience. There are, however, some innovations and technological solutions that are out of reach of the intended beneficiaries who continue to bear the brunt of adverse weather changes. In this regard, I urge the private sector and all stakeholders represented here to work together and scale up their effort to ensure these innovations not only reach the grassroots and the most vulnerable, but are also affordable. I have seen the immense potential of our youth, our children who have come up with innovative ideas for renewable, clean energy, agribusiness, and waste management. I urge us all to support them by offering technical education options and investing in their ideas because they hold the promise of creating clean and green jobs. Ladies and gentlemen, we all need to do so much more in our own capacities, in our homes, our communities, to turn around the climate change agenda. It calls for unprecedented action and behavioral change. No longer can we see climate change as an inconvenient truth. It's here with us, and we have to combat it. With those few remarks, it's now my pleasure to declare the Kenya Climate Change Innovation Center Strategic Plan 2020 to 2025 officially launched. I thank you. Climate change is a global problem, but unfortunately it is seen as a myth or an inconvenient truth. Kenya is vulnerable to climate change, and that calls for us to think differently, to act differently, and with urgency, because climate-related disasters, particularly extreme droughts and floods, are becoming more frequent. It is adversely impacting livelihoods. It is affecting the health of many, particularly women, children, the elderly, and persons living with disabilities. It has exposed the vulnerable and marginalized communities living in areas with poor infrastructure to untold suffering. As a country, we have noted the serious threats caused by climate change, and we're taking bold measures through policy, practice, and innovation to secure ourselves from its risks and impacts. Our Vision 2030 sets out strategies to protect our environment, including conservation, sustainable water, and ensuring food security. The Climate Change Act and Action Plans, the Green Economy Strategy and Implementation Plan are all demonstration of urgent actions to protect our country. These are indeed noble efforts. However, the severe climate threats we are experiencing will only get worse if we do not do more to enhance our resilience and mitigate the crises. No longer can we continue to talk. We need more action and more investment to protect our environment. We need to embrace our national target and plant more trees to achieve the 10% forest cover by 2022.
Your Excellency, mine is to welcome you into this evening on this dinner.
I'd like to welcome on stage. These gentlemen have been around. They've been around. Good evening, everyone. Turn to your neighbor and say, Jambo. On behalf of KCIC, our hosts tonight, I'd like to see both locally and abroad, singing in various languages, including Chinese, the nation's non-permanent Security Council seat. They are led by a very young gentleman by the name of Juma Odemba. That name.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is dedicated. One more time. On the way, on the way, on the way, on the way. Thank you.
This journey marks KCIC's transit in becoming a market